Use headphones for best experience.
Monsters don't always skulk in the trees. Sometimes they step to the gate and smile. At Cold Creek, Teresa's nose had never failed her, right up until the rain-scented man arrived. Teresa Lewis leaned against the doorway of the tiny Cold Creek border checkpoint, watching the empty road. It was a quiet October afternoon in 1986, the kind that made her ache with loneliness. A dry wind rattled the birch trees and carried the distant smell of wood smoke. And something else. She sniffed the air, detecting a tang of nervous sweat. Moments later, a rust-speckled blue pickup truck rolled up. The driver offered a polite smile, but Teresa had already caught the sour odor of fear wafting from him. After a brief inspection, she uncovered a cooler in the truck bed, packed with illegal marijuana. As her partner Jim detained the shocked smuggler, he shot Teresa a look of amazement. It was the third bust this month that her uncanny instincts had sniffed out. "Nose of a bloodhound," Jim teased once the man was secured. Teresa just shrugged. She never could explain how she knew things about people, how fear, shame, and anger carried scents only she could smell. It set her apart, made her an asset here on this lonely Minnesota border crossing, but also a stranger among her own kind. Dusk fell, and with it came a rolling mist from the woods. Teresa stepped outside to lock the gate for the night, just as a lone figure emerged from the tree line on the Canada side. He moved with an easy, long-legged stride, carrying a canvas backpack. The man approached, stopping under the sodium lamp's glow. Teresa felt her breath hitch. He was tall and broad, with a rugged, unusual face. Heavy brow, sharp cheekbones, features not unlike her own. His hair was a pale blonde tangle to his shoulders. He gave a slight nod in greeting and handed over a passport. Victor Kincaid, Canadian national. He looked at her with an intensity that made her heart beat a little faster. "Evening," Teresa said, trying for professional calm. "Purpose of visit?" "Just passing through," he answered. His voice held a strange accent, lilting and old-fashioned. As he spoke, Teresa caught a scent that clung to him. Not fear or guilt like so many travelers, but something earthy, like moss and pine after rain. The aroma made her lightheaded for a moment, warm and oddly comforted. She cleared her throat and stamped his passport. "Welcome to Minnesota." Victor accepted the document, but lingered, his eyes fixed on her in quiet study. "Thank you, Teresa," he said, reading her name tag. The way he spoke her name felt almost reverent. She watched him walk on down the road until the mist swallowed him from sight. In his wake, Teresa realized she was trembling, not with fear, but with a curious excitement. Something about Victor had reached down into her soul, stirring a feeling of recognition she couldn't name. That night, rain drummed on the roof of Teresa's isolated farmhouse. She sat by the window, a cup of coffee growing cold in her hands, gazing out at the storm-lashed darkness. She should have been asleep, but her mind kept returning to the stranger with the kind eyes and the forest scent. Who was he? And why did she feel as if she'd known him all her life? Lightning flashed, illuminating the yard and the wall of pines beyond. In that brief glare, she saw a shape standing at the edge of the trees. Teresa sucked in a breath. Someone was out there, watching her house. She set her mug down and rose, heart thudding. The rain had turned to a light drizzle as she stepped onto her porch. "Hello?" she called into the night. A figure stepped forward from the shadows. Victor! Water streamed off his shoulders and face. He looked solemn and uncertain. "Victor?" Teresa's voice was soft with surprise but not fear. Somehow she knew he meant her no harm. He came closer, stopping at the bottom of her porch steps. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't want to frighten you. I was passing by and saw your light." Teresa realized her hands were shaking, and not from the chill. "You're soaked. Come inside." He hesitated, then nodded. She ushered him into the modest warmth of her living room. The lamplight revealed him more clearly now, the rough-hewn handsomeness of his features, and the hint of something feral in his eyes. She offered a towel, which he accepted with a grateful smile. "You live out here all alone?" Victor asked, glancing at the sparse furniture, the single-framed family photo on the mantel. "I do." Teresa folded her arms, suddenly self-conscious. "Nearest neighbor is a mile off. It gets quiet, but I'm used to it." Victor stepped nearer. He had a way of moving, soundless and graceful, that mesmerized her. "People like us often live apart," he said gently. Her brow furrowed. "People like us?" He met her gaze, and for a moment Teresa felt laid bare. "Different," he replied. "You know it, don't you? You've always known." Teresa's throat went dry. It was as if he could read the secret she held inside. "What are you?" she whispered, a tremor in her voice. "What am I?" Victor reached out slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. His fingertips brushed the side of her face, tucking a damp strand of hair behind her ear. Teresa didn't flinch. A tingling warmth spread from his touch. "Old folktales call us trolls," he said softly, "an ugly word for what we are. I prefer to think we're just another kind of people, an older kind." Troll. The word conjured images of misshapen creatures under bridges, but looking into Victor's eyes, Teresa understood. Her unusual features, her abilities. She was never fully human. A wave of relief, fear, and wonder crashed over her all at once. She swayed on her feet. Victor caught her elbows to steady her. "Easy," he murmured. She let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "I always knew I was adopted, found abandoned as a child. I never knew where I came from." Her voice quivered. "All my life I felt like a stranger, even to myself." "You're not alone anymore," Victor said. There was such tenderness in his expression that Teresa's heart ached. He drew her into a gentle embrace. After a moment's hesitation, she surrendered to it, resting her face against his chest. His shirt was damp and smelled of forest rain, the scent that had drawn her in from the start. They held each other while the storm moved off into the night. In Victor's arms, Teresa felt a peacefulness she'd never known. His hand stroked her dark hair, and she tilted her face up to his. Their lips met in a tentative kiss that deepened into hunger. Years of loneliness and suppressed yearning poured out in that embrace. He was like her, of her, and she needed him closer. That night they became lovers, seeking solace and understanding in each other's arms. For the first time, neither felt alone. Teresa woke alone just after dawn. The space beside her in bed was empty, sheets cold. For a moment, panic speared through her. Had it all been a dream? But the faint scent of pine lingered on her pillow, and she found a note on the nightstand weighted by a smooth river stone. "I have something I must do. I'll be back for you. V." Her chest tightened. Something he must do? She dressed quickly and stepped onto the porch to scan the tree line, but he was gone. Only silence and the drip of rainwater from the eaves answered. Confused and hurt, Teresa tucked the note in her pocket and drove to work. At the checkpoint, the routine of the day failed to steady her nerves. Victor's absence gnawed at her. She wanted to trust he would return, but doubt whispered in her mind. By late afternoon, an anxious energy had built up inside her. It was a relief when Jim showed up with news, until she heard it. "We got an alert from the sheriff's department," Jim said gravely. "A baby boy was abducted from a home 2 counties over last night." "Abducted?" Teresa felt a chill unrelated to the damp weather. "Parents found the crib empty this morning," Jim continued. "But here's the weird part. They found something else in the crib, a deformed infant of some kind. Doctors are baffled, think it might be an animal, like a baby with a genetic disorder." He trailed off, seeing Teresa's face lose all color. "You all right, Terry?" Teresa's coffee sloshed in her cup as her hand shook. A changeling, the word thudded in her mind. Swap a human baby with a troll newborn. Suddenly, Victor's cryptic departure and the timing of the abduction clicked together with sickening clarity. "I need to take a drive," she managed to tell Jim, her voice strained. "I'll check some back roads in case the kidnapper passed this way." Before he could question her, Teresa grabbed her keys and left. She had an idea where Victor might have gone. The old logging woods by the border, a remote place to hide. Dusk was gathering when she reached the narrow dirt track leading into Black Pine Forest. She left her jeep and continued on foot, heart pounding in her ears. She called out his name, but only crows answered. Deeper into the grove she went, until she spotted a ramshackle hunting cabin hidden among the cedars. A faint light glowed within. Teresa crept to the window and peered inside. Her breath caught. There was Victor, kneeling on the floor, rocking a small bundle in his arms. The missing baby. The child was whimpering softly, but alive. Beside them on the floor lay something else, a curious bundle of blankets from which a tiny gnarled arm protruded. A troll infant, eyes closed, its skin grayish and strange. Anger and heartbreak warred within Teresa. She stepped to the door and pushed it open. Victor looked up sharply. Relief and guilt flashed across his face when he saw her. "Teresa," he began, rising to his feet with the baby in his arms. "Why?" Her voice came out rough as she stepped inside, rainwater dripping from her coat. "Why would you do this?" Victor's shoulders sagged. "I wanted to tell you, our kind, we can't easily have children. There are so few of us left. This was our only way to continue. The human child will be raised by us, loved by one of our families. And the changeling left in his place would ensure our blood lives on, raised by humans. No one gets hurt." "No one gets hurt?" Teresa echoed in disbelief. "That baby's family is devastated. And what of this troll child? What happens when the humans realize it's not their own?" He winced. "Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they raise it with love. If not, our elders retrieve the child quietly. It's a risk we take. Teresa, it's either this or watch our people fade into nothing. Humans took everything from us long ago. We're fighting extinction." Teresa approached slowly, hands clenched. The infant in Victor's arms began to cry, sensing the tension. "I know humans have done terrible things," she said, voice shaking. "And I know I'm one of you, but this is wrong, Victor. Stealing a child can't be the answer." His jaw tightened. "It's the only answer we have left." They stood a pace apart, rain pattering on the cabin's roof. The air was thick with the scent of Victor's anxiety and Teresa's resolve. "Please," Teresa whispered, eyes on the screaming baby. "Give him to me. We can fix this. Return him to his parents before it's too late. We'll find another way for our people, together." Victor looked down at the squalling infant in his arms, his expression twisted in agony. When he raised his gaze to Teresa, tears brimmed. "If I give him back, I betray my kind. The others, they'll never forgive me." "Maybe they'll understand one day," she urged. "We can find the others, like us, who grew up human, like me. There might be more. We can bring our people together without stealing lives." He closed his eyes, a tear sliding down his cheek. For a long moment, the only sound was the baby's thin wail. Finally, Victor stepped forward, trembling. Gently, he transferred the infant into Teresa's arms. Teresa released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. The baby nestled against her, gradually calming. She blinked back tears of gratitude and relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Victor's face crumpled. In that instant, he looked utterly lost. Behind them, the troll newborn gave a reedy cry from its blankets, as if sensing the tragedy of its situation. Teresa reached out and took Victor's hand. His skin felt cold. "Come with me," she said. "We'll return the boy together, then figure everything else out. We'll protect the changeling too somehow." For one hopeful second, Victor squeezed her hand, but then he withdrew, stepping back. "I can't," he whispered. Shame and sorrow filled his eyes. "I've already doomed myself by this failure. Better I disappear." Before Teresa could protest, Victor leaned in and pressed a desperate kiss to her forehead. "Forgive me," he breathed. Then he turned and fled out the door into the rain and gathering darkness. "Victor!" Teresa shouted, but he vanished among the trees, a ghost in the storm. The baby in her arms began to cry again, and Teresa knew she had to move. She gathered up the frail troll infant as well, wrapping it securely in a blanket. With a heavy heart, she left the empty cabin and hurried back through the woods. It was near midnight when Teresa approached a cluster of flashing police lights on a rural highway, the authorities out searching. Muddy and soaked, she walked out with the human baby held high in a gesture of peace. Voices erupted in astonishment and relief. The boy was soon reunited with his sobbing parents, while Teresa claimed she had found him abandoned near a trailhead. It was miracle enough for the officials. No one questioned the strange bundled animal she carried, assuming it was her jacket. Later that night, Teresa returned home with a second tiny bundle hidden under her coat, the troll infant Victor had left behind. Its odd, delicate face stirred no fear in her, only fierce protectiveness. She would keep the child safe until it could be reunited with its own kind, or until Victor returned. Standing on her moonlit porch with the sleeping infant in her arms, Teresa gazed toward the dark woods. A breeze carried a familiar hint of pine and rain, as if to tell her she was not truly alone. She had found her place at last, on the threshold between two worlds, and now she was no longer afraid.
If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, comment, or share this video with your friends. Subscribe to our channel to hear more stories like this one.